Hey there. Tonight we're going to do chicken scampi. You can do the same recipe with shrimp. It'd be the same. The cook time will be a lot less because shrimp cooks very, very quickly. But you can do the same thing with shrimp if you would like to try that. I just have some chicken, 2 chicken breasts here, and that I'm going to be using. And as always, I'm going to cut these chicken breasts up before we cook them. I just find that it makes it much easier for portioning, and it also helps things to cook more consistent. You don't end up overcooking part of your chicken because part of it was thinner, and so it took longer, or it took less time to cook, and then the thicker pieces took longer to cook. So I am just cutting this up. Little sections here. I'm going to take this one piece that was here and we'll cut that down the middle. This is basically a tender here. If you ever buy the tenders, this is what they are on the back of the breast. And let's kind of get that right through there. And then we're going to cook this in some olive oil, some Italian herbs, garlic and lemon, and then we're going to finish off with a little bit of wine. Now, sometimes I do half olive oil and half butter. I happened to look in the fridge today and realize that I am out of butter. So I guess we are going to just be doing all olive oil today. And you know what? That's the reality. That's sometimes how things are when you're cooking at home. You know, most of the time I try really hard to have the things that I want, but oftentimes I'm deciding to make something at the last minute. Oh, I've got some chicken thawed. What am I going to do with it? And I decide, oh, chicken scampi. That sounds good, right? So kind of a garlic butter chicken basically is what we're going to do. And I don't have the butter, but a great alternative that also is healthier for you is olive oil. Now you can also use, if you did want to use butter, you can also use the dairy-free butter, the Mykonos that I use. That's a great one. And that would also be a healthy alternative. So I'm going to bring you guys over here to the stove. I've just got my pan here. I'm going to turn it on. You see right now it's empty. And so we're going to put some olive oil in this pan. And just enough. It's a pretty big pan. I'll let you see. So it's about a half a cup of olive oil. Just enough to really coat that pan and let it kind of sit. I'm gonna let that get warm for just a minute. Now, you may not have bought these before. Sometimes I use the fresh spices. Sometimes I keep these on hand for when I don't. So this one is garlic, and this one is Italian herbs. And so they come in like a paste. And so I am just going to squirt some of this in here to give us our garlic. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of the Italian herb. Yep, and this one's not open yet. So it just comes in a tube, kind of like toothpaste. And you just pull this off and put the lid back on. And then there we go. I'm going to squirt a little bit of that in there. Okay, so now I've got some Italian herbs. I've got some garlic. I'm going to do a little bit now of, this is lemon juice. Got 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Okay. I've been getting some questions lately as to why I don't have written recipes. And one, I'm still kind of learning to do this. This is very interesting to be able to cook and tell you these things. And believe it or not, most of the time when I'm doing this, I'm making this up as I go. I mean, some of them are things that I have done many, many times. And other times I'm like, oh, this sounded good. I thought I'd try it and see how it goes. So I don't have it written down. Second of all, I am a big proponent of, you know what, like today I didn't have butter, so it's all olive oil. You need to use what you have. So even though the recipe may call for certain things, when we're cooking, sometimes we don't have them, sometimes we don't like them. Maybe you're not a big garlic fan, you prefer onion. Okay, then put onion in. I really want to encourage you to cook in a way that you kind of own it and make it your own. I'm hoping that at the end of the day, I'm giving you some really great suggestions and that you will just make these recipes your own, okay? Now what I've done here, as you saw, I just added the chicken and I'm stirring it to coat in with those herbs, okay? So this is kind of like what that looks like now. And we're stirring this up to kind of coat it all up. Okay? All right, so we are going to let this just cook down and cook. And then once it gets where the chicken is almost done, and keep an eye on it, I'm going to be flipping this over and stirring it occasionally. I'm getting all of them flipped over right now. And then we're just going to take the chicken out. I will be deglazing the pan, and I'll come back to do this, and then we're going to add some asparagus to the same pan and finish it off in here, and then we'll have a sauce that'll go across both of them. Okay, so that's our goal. So we're making chicken scampi, and then we'll use the same broth and sauce to cook our asparagus in. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to bring you over here, and we're going to prep our asparagus. Now since we went from raw meat to veggies, I'm going to get a new knife and cutting board. Now if we were putting this all in the oven to cook for an extended period of time, I wouldn't worry about the separate cutting board as much when it's for the same dish. But this is going to go in after the fact, and these are not going to be in anywhere near as long. So I've got my package of asparagus here. I'm not going to use about half of it. We'll use the other half of that this week for Thanksgiving. I think we're going to do that with some homemade hollandaise sauce. And you want to cut off about 1/3 of the asparagus. These bottom parts, they just tend to be really kind of woody, and I don't enjoy them. Certainly, you can cut it down a little bit lower if you prefer, but I found for me about 1/3 of it is what I want. So I still have these nice stems. So we've got these prepped here. Now we're just going to wait for our chicken to cook, and then I'll come back and show you how to finish off your asparagus. Okay, so our chicken has been cooking for about 7 to 8 minutes. And I'm going to show you, it's kind of hard to do without you can. It has really gotten to be this really nice golden color. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use a slotted spoon, and we're going to remove this chicken and put it in this bowl. Now remember, this chicken all cooked pretty evenly because we had it all cut up in similar sized pieces, right? So that helps it to cook evenly. And now, get these last couple pieces out of here. What we're going to do very carefully is add a little bit of wine to deglaze our pan. So when we do that, you want to take a spatula and you want to scrape the bottom of that pan as soon as you get that wine in. And you're going to see all those little brown bits and everything kind of really go into that, okay? So right now, what this is doing is just really creating a really nice broth. Before we thicken this broth, if we choose to do that, depending on where you are in your journey with low carbs and keto, if you would choose to add that or not, we're going to go ahead and add our asparagus, okay? We're going to put our asparagus right in there. See, our asparagus is in there, and we're just going to kind of kick the heat back up on it. We want that wine to bubble and boil, remember, so that it cooks out the alcohol, but we want the asparagus to cook in this broth. And then as soon as this is done, we're going to pull out the asparagus, and then you will do one of two things. Either with that remaining broth, we'll either just use it the way it is over our chicken, or we can put just a tad of cornstarch or tapioca starch or arrowroot, whatever you prefer. Make a slurry. With that, be about a 1/4 cup of cold water mixed with a tablespoon of any one of those. My preference normally is arrowroot. We try to stay away from grains when possible. And then we will, you'll just pour it in just a little bit at a time to let it thicken. It may not even take but a tablespoon or two of what you've got. It tends to thicken up pretty quick. So we're going to let these cook here for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll come back when we're going to pull these out. Okay, so our asparagus is done. It's been cooking for about 4 minutes. We've kept it in even though we stir it occasionally, then I take and make sure it stays in a single layer, so all of it is cooking at the same time. I'm gonna use my tongs here to put this on the plate. Well, that one might just go away. Okay, we're gonna plate these up. Now, at this point, our asparagus is done, our chicken is done, we have this lovely broth in here, and we need to decide, you can see here's our asparagus. Very nice, very nicely cooked. It's just kind of poached in this tasty broth from our chicken with the garlic and the herbs in it. Now, these this broth, if you want to make it thicker, you can at this point make a slurry, which is what I talked about earlier. You're going to take 1/4 cup of cold water and 1 tablespoon of either cornstarch, arrowroot, or tapioca flour, and you're going to mix it in that cold water, and then you would just pour in just a tiny bit at a time and stir, because I want you to see there is not a whole lot left in here. Okay, like, can you even hear? See, it's about, if I go any further, I'm going to spill it out. So it's about, there you can kind of see, it's about 1/2 cup is what's here. Okay, so if you want, you can thicken it up. I'm going to leave this alone and just pour it right over my chicken. I'm going to choose not to thicken it today, and just kind of, we've been eating a few more carbs than I prefer lately because of the holidays and getting all these recipes ready for you guys. So what I'm going to do is just pour this broth right over my chicken. Now that's beautiful. You can kind of see how pretty and nice that broth is. It's really got nice color to it. And then what we're going to do to finish this off, we've got our asparagus here, is we're going to take this Parmesan cheese, and I love this one. This one does not use, let me show you what brand it is, does not use cellulose in it. So cellulose is a product of trees that they use to keep the cheese from sticking. So I'm going to move this over here, and then I'm just going to sprinkle some cheese on my asparagus. And there you have it. And that was it. And all that took about 25 minutes from cutting the chicken up to where we are right now serving it. So I hope that you'll give these a try. We've got our asparagus poached in that water, and we have our scampi chicken. Again, if you do want to try it with shrimp, make sure your shrimp is thawed. You don't want that icy shrimp going into the oil. It'll splatter, make a huge mess, and then it'll water down your liquid. It won't cook well. And it'll only take about 3 to 4 minutes per sides on your shrimp, so you don't want to do it longer than that or you'll overcook them. So anyway, I hope you'll try it with the chicken or with the shrimp, and once you try it, let me know what you think.